Half a day, the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture is now called to order. Today's Wednesday, January 19, 2022. The time is 3:07 p.m. Notices for this virtual public hearing were published in the Guam Daily Post on Tuesday, January 11, and again on Sunday, January 16, 2022, and sent via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on the same days. The Zoom meeting is hosted by the legislature's AV staff and committee staff and will mute all Zoom participants until called upon by the chair. Persons testifying shall begin by stating their name for record-keeping purposes. We have one agenda item that is Bill number 237-36 COR, introduced by Senator Sabina Flores Perez. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my colleagues today, and beginning with Senator Sabina Perez, who is the sponsor of the bill, Senator Terlaje, and Senator Joanne Brown. These are those Masi senators for being present today. So we will begin with the introduction of the bill by the sponsor, Senator Perez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Bill 237-36 aims to align penalties for causing serious harm to an assistance animal or killing of a law enforcement agency animal with those in the PAWS Act. In current statute of 10 GCA Chapter 34, the application of penalties for serious harm to assistance animals and the killing of a law enforcement agency animal makes references to 9 GCA Section 70.10.1, which currently does not exist since the passage of the PAWS Act. Under the old law, Section 70.10.1 was entitled Animal Abuse in the First Degree, which is a third degree felony, and it treated both offenses equally. Bill 237-36 aims to align penalties with the PAWS Act, in which the two offenses would be treated differently. Thus, the penalties for intentionally causing harm would be under animal abuse found in Section 70.25, which is a third degree felony, and penalties for intentionally killing would be under aggravated animal abuse, which is under Section 70.30, which is a second degree felony. The importance of Bill 237-36 is that it closes a potential gap in law for animal abuse offenses towards assistance animals and law enforcement agency animals. I want to thank the compiler for her review and look forward to testimony and the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Perez. We'll now hear from Deputy Director of the Public Defender Service Corporation, Attorney John Morrison.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had given some thought to just sitting this one out, but there are a few items on the bill that I thought maybe deserved a look at. One of them was that the current language references 70.25 as far as penalties are concerned, but 70.25 looks to me to have a misdemeanor and a felony component to it. So I thought maybe the law could be clear on which penalty that was the law was designed for. My only other real comment, I think, is that sometimes a law can be written so generally that it can suffer from overbreadth and be stricken down on constitutional grounds for being too broad. And I don't know that there's really a risk here under this bill, but I would say that the criminal negligence portion of this gave me some pause. Just because I can't really fathom of a situation where someone's going to injure or kill a service animal with criminal negligence at the same time they were aware or should have been aware that the animal was a service animal. I would generally think of criminal negligence like somebody's just cruising down the road and they're not doing the right thing. They're watching TikTok videos or something and they injure an animal or kill an animal. But under that situation, the person wouldn't have been aware that the animal was a service animal or wouldn't have reason to know it was a service animal. It was just an accident that occurred or the dog or whatever it was ran out into the street. So I just can't really imagine a situation where that particular harm is going to occur with that particular mental state. So if the intention here is really I don't want people to injure or kill a seeing eye dog when it's in the performance of its duties. I think it might be better to just say that and take out the criminal negligence aspect of this so it wouldn't potentially suffer from that. Those are really my only comments on this.
Thank you, Attorney Morrison. So for the record, we requested feedback on this bill from DISID, which is the Department for for Disabilities and for the Government of Guam, Attorney General of Guam, and the Attorney General's email response is, after a cursory review, we have no concerns or opposition to either bill at this time. We will not be in attendance at today's public hearing, but if there are any questions directed to our office, please let us know and we'll be happy to help address whatever we can. We also sent the bill and asking for feedback to the Guam Police Department, the Guam Fire Department, and the Guam Animals in Need Gang. All right, the BBMR stated that the bill is administrative in nature and poses no fiscal impact upon any funds of the Government of Guam. All right, and the legal review of this bill is also pending, our legal review by the Legislature's Council. And other than that, Senator Perez, I will open the floor to you for questions.
Yeah, no questions. Well, I think I appreciate the testimony that's given, and I do agree that perhaps deleting that portion out, being that the original language is that the person knows that that animal is a professional working dog or is a law enforcement animal. So I do agree with that. It would be nice to get feedback, or at least some feedback regarding from the AG's office with that change. So I definitely would like to follow up with that. Other than that, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Senator Taitzikui.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too had brought it up, the fact that in the section 70.25 did had to, the misdemeanor as well as, felony. I was concerned about that, and I thank you for bringing that up. I think the bill in itself, as I was going through this and trying to ensure that, what's considered intentional and an accident, but if you read this on ECHO, section 1 of ECHO, it says intentionally, knowingly, recklessly, or with criminal negligence causes physical injury or serious physical injury to the animal. I didn't see anything here, that talked about like not knowing, or if you're driving a car and you hit an animal, or a dog, are you going to, it can be charged for misdemeanor? But I didn't see anything in this section that talked about that. It strictly talked about professional working dogs, but it talked about knowingly and intentionally. So Attorney Morrison, would you see anything in this legislation that is a concern with what you just mentioned about not knowingly, like you accidentally hit a dog on the road and it wasn't, it was an accident, it wasn't intentional. So I don't think there's anything in this section here, section 1 or 2 talks about it being unintentional. So Attorney Morrison.
Well, the criminal negligence is sort of by definition unintentional. But the reason I don't really ever see this being charged under the criminal negligence portion of it was that the defendant would have had to have known it was a service animal before committing that criminal negligence. And I just can't really conceive of a situation where that's going to happen. I think clearly this is a statute where we don't want somebody to kill a police dog out of, seeking revenge or something like that. Or we don't want someone running away from an accident, chased by a police dog, and then they get a club or something and hurt the dog. Those I think are good goals, but the criminal negligence portion of it, I just don't see ever happening unless it was some strict liability offense where criminal negligence alone is enough and they didn't actually have to know that this was a service animal or have reason to believe that it was. But I think that would be a dangerous situation.
Okay. I'm still trying to wrap myself around, intentionally, knowingly versus, an accident. So I guess we'll get legal review as well from our legal side on this legislation. And I will ask that question later on to them. But I thank you for your comments and for being here today. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity and to make comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Taitigui. Senator Joanne Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I mean, I certainly understand the intent of this particular bill. And I do recall a situation happened a few years ago with regards to a customs dog that had already completed his service and was adopted by one of the customs officers. And that particular animal was intentionally brutalized at the home of this customs officer. And at the time they believed that it was intentional, that it had been a drug dog. I don't know ultimately what happened with regards to any investigation or if anyone was ever held liable for that particular circumstance, but it had been believed at the time that someone had intentionally harmed that particular animal because of its previous service. So I don't know, Senator, if I can ask Madam Chair for Senator Sabina as the sponsor, is this the intention of only when they are actually actively servicing, or what about in the case of retired law enforcement animals, for example? And that, again, that was just a perspective that was put out there because of the type, how this animal was brutalized, that they believe it was intentional, that particular animal was involved in a certain drug bust. And even though the animal had been retired from service, it was a belief that, at least that was commonly believed, and what was going around in that discussion, that, someone had harmed that animal in particular because of a particular drug bust that had occurred. And so I just wanted to ask, would this apply in that case, or is it only when the animal's in active service?
So thank you for that question, Senator Brown. So this bill would definitely just address when the animal is in service, but in the case that you're describing, it's already covered under the PAWS Act, under aggravated abuse. So that would be a second-degree felony.
Okay, I mean, I appreciate that, but it's this is not a common circumstance, obviously, that we would come across. But like I said, I do recall that particular incident maybe happened about 4 or 5 years ago with regards to this particular, animal, drug sniffing animal that had been retired. So I think we all recognize that. I mean, we want to make sure that, these animals here have a very special purpose of assistance that they're providing. We certainly would want to see anyone harm them, least of all intentionally harm them. So I certainly am supportive of your bill. And thank you for responding to my question. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to ask questions.
Thank you to Senator Brown. Would anyone else like to add anything? If not, I'll allow the sponsor to close. Senator Perez.
I just want to thank you, Speaker, for having a hearing on this bill and for any testimony that Attorney Morrison has provided, and we'll definitely look forward to hearing from legal counsel as well as the AG's office in fine-tuning this bill a little bit more. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Perez. There being no additional testimony, the committee will consider Bill 237-36 COR duly heard. The committee will remain open for submission of additional written testimony for the next 10 working days until February 2nd, 2022. Testimony can be sent via email to Senator Terlaje Guam at gmail.com or hand delivered to my office here at the Guam Congress Building. The public hearing is now adjourned. The time is 3:20 p.m. Sitos Masi Senators and Sitos Masi Attorney Morrison for your continued testimony on these bills. Take care, everyone.